Okay, my name is Michael Cooley, and I reside here in Columbia, Missouri.
Excellent. Tell me a little about yourself. Tell me about before your injury.
I moved down here in October of 2001, at which point is when I received my spinal cord injury.
What happened?
I was driving home from a hospital after having a dislocated shoulder, and I was released from the hospital with my car keys, and I drove home and fell asleep at the wheel and hit a telephone pole. I was still quite sedated from that, and really didn't know what I was doing. I don't remember anything except for checking into the desk when I went to the hospital.
So you don't even remember getting in your car or anything that led up to the accident?
Nope. I remember a couple of spots right after the accident. I remember the radio blaring so loud, and I was trying to reach up and turn the volume down, and I couldn't lift my arms up.
So the hospital released you on heavy pain meds?
Mm-hmm. Yep. It was probably an hour after they put my shoulder back in the socket.
Do you remember what kind of pain meds that you were on?
It was Ativan, and I believe it was morphine that they used to put my shoulder back in. And after the accident and everything, come to find out some of the amounts of Ativan that they were giving me that night were quite large. And as far as the dosages that they should have been following, it didn't match up from what the research that I had done on the internet and things like that. So I was under, a lot of the Ativan was the big one, and I guess that's the reason I don't have very much memory, because what I found out with the Ativan, that it does, keep you from remembering a lot of things once you.
Well, what happened to you in the accident?
I pinched my spinal cord at the 5th and 6th vertebrae, and basically that rendered me a quadraplegic, paralyzed from the chest down. I still have movement. I can still bear weight. I can still actually stand. If I press up and hold on to something, I can actually stand. I can lift my legs a little bit and things like that. So it's not, there's a lot of misunderstandings when it comes to quadriplegics or paraplegics. People think paralyzed completely, nothing, no feeling, no nothing. I have, all the feeling all down to my toes. Some of it's just a little better than others. A lot of it is, the best example I can give is like when your hand, if you're sitting in a cross position too long and your foot falls asleep and you feel that numbing and the pins and needles that burn really bad and stuff like that. I live with that from basically the feet and hands completely, and on my legs and parts of my trunk and back. That's what I feel 24/7. So depression was, in the first 2 years, was one of the biggest things for me. Basically, I lived in my bedroom, and I'm not exaggerating. You can ask any of my kids, my wife. I did not come out of there, except for maybe go to the store once in a while, go to the doctor to fill my prescription, things like that.
Depression following your injury is really...
Yes. And that, of course, that led to some drug abuse. I started to abuse my prescription medications, the Oxycontins and things like that. And that became my world and my drive that I just didn't want to feel anymore.
Well, tell me about your pain. Tell me about the kind of pain that you deal with now.
Now?
Or, well, back at the time, around the time of the injury.
Back at the time of the injury, I had a lot of joint pain, a lot of. There were nights that I couldn't even sleep, that I hurt so bad that it just seemed like my back and some of my lower leg area, that it was just so bad that I'd actually have to get up out of bed and get into my chair. And I didn't want to be in my chair, because I wanted to be laying down, getting some rest, sleeping. There was just nothing I could do to get comfortable at all. I would wake up in the middle of the night crying. My wife would get up and sit with me and hold me and rub shoulders or just talk with me or whatever it took, you know, to get me through.
So what's your pain like now?
Well, since I've started using cannabis,
Yes.
you know, I still have it, but it's bearable.
Well,
I can.
tell me about what, are you still on pharmaceuticals?
Yes, I still take small amounts of baclofen, Xanaflex, methadone. I actually take a very minute amount of that, and a Neuropathic. So, before I was using cannabis along with it, I was using the real high amounts, and cannabis has been able, you know, giving me the ability to cut the you know, my prescriptions at over 80%.
Oh, really?
The dosages, actually, most of the prescriptions I don't even take anymore, and
So you were making a physical effort to take less pharmaceuticals, aren't you?
oh yeah, when 4 or 5 years ago, I just kind of got fed up. I was probably pretty close to losing my family again, and I didn't want to go through that again. So I just went to my doctor and said, "Hey, it's time to help me here," you know. And he was the one that recognized that I was using, you know, cannabis before I even brought it up to him. You know, he approached me in one of our appointments and said, "Well, so how much, you know, cannabis are you using?" And I kind of was shocked. I was like, "Well, why are you suggesting something like that?" And he says, "Well, you know, for the last few months you've been coming in here telling me you're dropping down on your medications, and for somebody that's been on, you know, dosages that high, there's no way that you could come down without doing something." And I said, you know, I was honest with him, and I told him, because he's actually a personal friend of mine. You know, I shared with him, and you know.
What did he say about the fact that your cannabis use has been allowing you to use less pharmaceuticals?
Oh, he supports me 100%.
Really? That's excellent.
Yes.
That's excellent. So, what is the story now?
Well, the story now is that, you know, I feel like I'm really in a catch-22 situation, being in Colombia, where it's legal to obtain and use it, but there's no legal means to obtain it.
Really?
So, you know, you have to do what you gotta do, and, you know, the quality of the cannabis that you get, you know, it varies. Prices vary, you know, and a lot of times you go without it because you can't afford it.
How important do you think cannabis is to your recovery and in your life now?
I think it gave me back my life. Like I said, I was locked in my room for 2 years, and you know, it wasn't the only thing that made a difference, but I think it was one of the major contributions to giving me back my independence and my life. It took away my depression, you know. I should say it took it away. It helped take away my depression. It was an element into the things that I was doing that was one of the major contributions to my depression going away. And now I can, you know, spend time with my kids, my wife. I don't run to the bedroom or anything like that anymore. So I would say it's very important in getting back my life. So
Sounds great, sir. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
thank you.